New York has never been a city that gives away its respect. It doesn't matter how much money you make, how many followers you have, or how many headlines carry your name. The city has seen too many stars rise and fall to be impressed by reputation alone. If you want New York to believe in you, you have to earn it. That's what makes the city so difficult to conquer. For years, the New York Knicks searched for someone capable of carrying that burden. They had talented players, they had promising teams, they had moments of hope. But hope is not leadership, and in a city obsessed with greatness, leadership is the one thing that cannot be faked. That reality is what makes the story of Jalen Brunson so unusual. When most people imagine a basketball savior, they picture overwhelming physical gifts. They imagine a player who walks into the arena looking like he was created in a laboratory to dominate the sport. Brunson never fit that image. He wasn't the tallest player on the floor. He wasn't the fastest athlete in the league. He didn't possess the kind of explosive athleticism that fills social media feeds every night. In many ways, he looked ordinary compared to the modern superstars surrounding him. Yet the more people watched him play, the more they noticed something that statistics alone could not fully explain. Every possession seemed calmer when he had the ball. Every chaotic moment seemed more manageable. Every difficult situation somehow felt under control. While other players overwhelmed opponents with power, Brunson overwhelmed them with command. That distinction matters because history has often misunderstood what leadership actually looks like. People tend to assume that the strongest individual naturally becomes the leader. But history tells a different story. Again and again, the figures who changed civilizations were not necessarily the biggest, strongest, or most physically imposing people in the room. Their influence came from their ability to organize chaos and convince others to follow them into uncertainty. Few historical figures embodied that principle more completely than Julius Caesar. When most people think of Caesar, they imagine the conqueror of Gaul, the general whose victories expanded Roman influence across Europe. They picture military triumphs, political power, and the foundations of an empire. But Caesar's greatest weapon was not his sword, it was his ability to inspire loyalty. Roman history was filled with capable generals, many of whom commanded larger armies or possessed greater resources. What separated Caesar was that his soldiers trusted him completely. They believed he could lead them through situations that should have been impossible. That trust transformed ordinary military campaigns into legendary victories. Because once people believe in a leader, they become willing to endure challenges that logic alone would never justify. That same dynamic explains why Jalen Brunson's rise in New York feels larger than basketball. The Knicks did not simply acquire a talented point guard. They acquired someone capable of changing how an entire organization viewed itself. And the significance of that transformation becomes clearer when we look at the moment Brunson made the decision that would alter the course of his career. That decision did not look historic at the time. In fact, many people questioned it. Brunson was leaving a comfortable situation in Dallas, where he had developed into one of the league's most reliable guards. The Knicks offered him a chance to become something more, but they also offered him a level of scrutiny that few players truly understand until they experience it. New York is not simply another basketball market. It is a city that magnifies every success and every failure. A great performance becomes a headline. A bad performance becomes a crisis. The pressure never disappears because the expectations never disappear. By choosing New York, Brunson was choosing uncertainty, and that is precisely where the comparison to Julius Caesar becomes difficult to ignore. Long before Caesar became one of the most famous figures in history, he faced a decision that would define his legacy. Standing at the Rubicon River, he knew that crossing it would change everything. Once he moved forward, there would be no easy return. The decision carried enormous risk, because failure would likely destroy him, yet refusing to act would guarantee that his ambitions remained unrealized. Caesar crossed the river anyway. Historians have debated the consequences of that moment for centuries. But one thing remains clear. History remembers those willing to accept uncertainty in pursuit of something greater. In a much different context, Brunson faced a similar challenge. Remaining where he was would have been safer. Becoming the face of the Knicks was not. The reason that choice mattered so much is because leadership cannot be proven in comfortable situations. Anyone can perform when expectations are low and the consequences are limited. True leaders reveal themselves when they accept responsibility for outcomes they cannot completely control. The moment Brunson arrived in New York, he inherited years of frustration, disappointment, and skepticism. Knicks fans had seen promising eras collapse before. They had watched stars arrive with enormous expectations, only to leave without fulfilling them. As a result, belief was in short supply. And when belief disappears, rebuilding it becomes far more difficult than winning games. Because of that environment, Brunson's impact was felt almost immediately, not because he transformed into a different player overnight, but because he brought stability to a franchise that had spent years searching for it. Possession after possession, game after game, he demonstrated the same qualities that had defined his career from the beginning. He controlled tempo, he made intelligent decisions, he understood when to attack and when to slow the game down. Most importantly, he refused to let pressure dictate his actions. While other players seemed to speed up when the moment became larger, Brunson somehow became calmer. That calmness spread throughout the roster, because confidence is contagious. Players begin taking smarter shots. Defensive rotations become sharper. Mistakes become less frequent. What starts as trust in one player gradually evolves into trust in the entire team. That process mirrors something Caesar understood better than almost anyone. Great leaders rarely transform organizations through speeches alone. Instead, they establish a standard of behavior that others begin to imitate. Roman soldiers followed Caesar not because he demanded loyalty every day, but because he consistently demonstrated competence under pressure. Every difficult campaign reinforced the belief that he would find a solution. Over time, confidence became culture. The same phenomenon began unfolding around Brunson. The Knicks were no longer simply hoping to compete. They expected to compete. That may sound like a small difference, but in professional sports it can change everything. As victories accumulated, something even more important started to happen. The conversation surrounding Brunson shifted. People stopped asking whether he was capable of leading a contender and started asking how far he could take one. That change reflected more than improved statistics or playoff appearances. It reflected the emergence of trust, and trust is the foundation upon which every lasting leader builds his influence. Once people believe in a leader, they stop focusing on individual obstacles and start focusing on collective possibilities. That is exactly how Caesar expanded his influence throughout Rome, and it is exactly how Brunson began transforming the expectations surrounding the Knicks. That transformation became impossible to ignore once the spotlight intensified. Madison Square Garden has always been more than an arena. It is a stage where reputations are tested in real time. The crowd rewards courage, effort, and resilience, but it also punishes hesitation. Over the years, countless talented players have walked onto that floor believing they could handle the pressure, only to discover that New York demands more than talent. It demands ownership. The city wants someone willing to accept responsibility when things go wrong, because those are the moments that reveal character. As Brunson continued delivering in the biggest moments, the relationship between player and city began to change. Fans were no longer evaluating him, they were following him. That distinction is what separates leadership from popularity. Popularity depends on results. Leadership survives adversity. Caesar understood this principle throughout his rise in Rome. His influence did not come from universal approval. In fact, many of Rome's elites viewed him as a threat. What made him powerful was that the people who mattered most to his success trusted him completely. They believed he would act decisively when uncertainty appeared. That belief gave him authority long before any official title could. Authority, in its purest form, is not something granted by institutions. It is something granted by people who voluntarily choose to follow. The same pattern emerged around Brunson. There was no ceremony declaring him the leader of the Knicks. No official announcement handed him the role. Instead, leadership developed naturally because teammates consistently looked toward him when games became difficult. In close contests, the ball found its way into his hands. In hostile arenas, his composure became a source of stability. In playoff battles, his confidence prevented panic from spreading through the roster. The remarkable part is that none of this happened through dramatic speeches or larger-than-life gestures. It happened because Brunson repeatedly demonstrated that he could be trusted when the stakes were highest. That reliability is often overlooked in a sports culture obsessed with spectacular moments. Highlight plays dominate social media because they are easy to understand. Leadership is harder to capture because it reveals itself through hundreds of small decisions rather than one unforgettable play. A perfectly timed pass, a patient possession, a refusal to force a shot, a calm response after a mistake. These moments rarely become viral clips, yet they are often the foundation of winning basketball. Caesar's legacy was built the same way. History remembers the great battles, but those victories were made possible by countless strategic decisions that occurred long before armies met on the battlefield. Because of that, the comparison between Caesar and Brunson is not really about conquest. It is about control. Caesar mastered the art of controlling situations that appeared chaotic. Brunson does something remarkably similar on a basketball court. When defenses become aggressive, he remains patient. When crowds become loud, he remains focused. When games threaten to spiral out of control, he restores order. That ability may not seem extraordinary at first glance, but in environments defined by pressure, control becomes one of the rarest qualities a leader can possess. And perhaps that is why New York embraced him so completely. The city has always admired strength, but it has never been impressed by strength alone. It admires individuals who can withstand pressure without losing themselves. It admires people who remain composed while others become overwhelmed. Most of all, it admires leaders who earn trust rather than demand it. Julius Caesar built his legacy by convincing others that he could guide them through uncertainty. Jalen Brunson has built his in much the same way. He did not arrive in New York as a king. He did not arrive as a conquering hero. He arrived as a player with something to prove. Yet the most influential leaders rarely begin with a crown. They begin by earning belief. Caesar earned it from his soldiers. Brunson earned it from his teammates, his coaches, and eventually, an entire city. That is why the comparison feels so compelling. It is not because both men ruled empires, and it is not because both achieved fame. It is because both understood a timeless truth about leadership. People do not follow titles, they follow trust. And once trust has been earned, influence becomes far more powerful than authority. Long before Rome crowned Caesar, people were already treating him like a leader. In many ways, the same thing happened in New York. Long before anyone declared Jalen Brunson the face of the Knicks, the city had already made its decision.